Is it time for recess yet? I'm so glad you found time to join us here on the Childcare Director's Chair, where Erica Sacoccio shares her best practices that she's refined through her passion of directing childcare centers over the last 23 years. From parenting interaction, systems to save you time, money, and stress, to profitability. She shares it all from the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Michigan, California, Pennsylvania, Montana, Texas, Canada. I'd like to say hello to all of my listeners. For those of you around the globe, welcome to our community. I wanted to just make a little mention for my folks that are in Texas or possibly traveling to Texas pretty soon for the Born to Teach conference. We are so excited to announce that the Child Care Director's Chair and myself will be at that conference. We have a booth and I would love to meet you in person. So if you are going to the Born to Teach conference, please stop by our booth and say hello. I'd love to do a meet and greet with you. So, we have been talking about leadership this week, and I want to continue on that note as it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. And I wanted to talk about how emotional intelligence plays a role in the mental health of your staff, of the vibe of your program, and how smoothly things run. Because when you think about emotional intelligence, and we understand how important it is for effective leadership in a childcare setting. It encompasses self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. And they're all so important with building strong relationships with everyone around you. And so today's podcast, we'll talk about 4 components of emotional intelligence as it applies to childcare leadership and how they contribute to a positive, supportive, and nurturing environment. I think when you are talking about emotional intelligence and the decision-making that comes with it, and positive conflict resolution, communication, and the overall well-being of childcare centers in general. And so that's why I really thought it was important to talk about it and how it's connected to leadership. It is something that really helps you not only create that positive atmosphere, but fostering trust and open communication and collaboration with all the stakeholders. So let's talk about what is the definition of emotional intelligence. It's our ability to recognize and understand and manage one's own emotions. As we recognize the influence, the emotions that we have and what it has over others. So it involves a combination of skills that enable individuals to navigate social interactions and relationships effectively. Now, I'm sure that you have been in places where you could, without anybody telling you, be in the room for 5 minutes or so and know what kind of leadership is running that school. You will know instantly by the feel, the vibe, because again, the leadership sets the tone. You will know whether it's a toxic environment, whether there is tension, whether there is hostility, passive aggressiveness. You will know it. You will feel it in the air. And it is as real and tangible as walking outside in a rain. It is there. You feel it. It's in your gut. You can tell by the people's body language, the way that they're talking to each other, their faces, you can see it. And in child care leadership, it is so important to have that emotional intelligence so that you can create a supportive environment where everyone feels valued and understood. It allows leaders to build trust by understanding and managing emotions. Leaders can foster that trust among everyone that they are surrounded. And remember, kids also pick up on the vibe of the adults in the room. It helps with enhanced communication, which is also so important. And it helps leaders navigate conversations with empathy and clarity. Managing conflicts. When leaders have a high EI, they can handle conflicts constructively, find resolutions that satisfy everyone involved. And it helps promote well-being because it creates a positive atmosphere, which in turn supports the emotional and psychological well-being of staff, children, and parents. So let's talk about the components of EI and how it is connected with your leadership style. First is self-awareness. As it's the foundation for emotional intelligence, it involves recognizing and understanding one's own emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. And in childcare leadership, being self-aware allows leaders to assess their impact on others and approach accordingly and adjust that approach when needed. See, it impacts your decision-making. When you are self-aware, leaders can make thoughtful decisions that consider the needs of all perspectives and all stakeholders. They have a saying around me. They call me yin yang because I am able to see both sides of the coin. And it's just something that's very innate to me. But it isn't a skill that everybody has. And if you don't have that, you have to be able to see that. And something that will really help you with that is being reflective and growing. Understanding your own emotions and behaviors, leaders can identify areas for improvement and grow both professionally and personally. And self-regulation, right? Now that you're aware, how are you using self-regulation to regulate your own emotions and impulses in healthy manners instead of stomping around and being mad and slamming doors or giving the silent treatment or whatever other ways that somebody may be dealing with it? Because let's face it, childcare settings, leaders often face high pressure situations that require composure and resilience. Leaders who practice self-regulation can handle conflicts calmly and constructively, promoting resolutions rather than escalation, right? You're the one who is going to make sure that you don't have a drama fest. You don't have people quitting every minute, right? Also, when you control your emotions, leaders can navigate stressful situations without becoming overwhelmed and setting a positive example for others. So here, I'll give an example. It's Monday morning, you've had 4 call-outs, okay? That in itself is enough to throw your day off because you were planning to work on the federal food program. So now you know there's a good chance you're not going to be able to do that because you're going to be probably tending to the staff on the floor a little bit more than you normally would have to. They're going to need additional supports. At least if you're a good leader, that would be what would happen. You would, call in your subs, you would do all the things that you would need to do, but you're probably going to need to be more present. So if you already know that, you got to go in with that mindset of, okay, this is going to have to move to another day or later in the day. Let me check in with my team. Let me sprinkle the "it's going to be okay" throughout the building. Let me figure out, maybe I'm going to buy lunch that day. Maybe I'm going to do a special shout out in some kind of way on our social media. Maybe I'm going to have a fun game or a contest at the end of the day. Something that's going to help reduce that stress. But I have to remember, I have to be in tune with myself and that self-regulation. Because if I walk in and I'm already like, oh great, this day is going to be horrible, you're already feeding that. You can't do that. So being able to self-regulate yourself and being in your own calmness will help others around you also be calm. If you are a leader and you leave a building and people notice you're gone, that means you're impactful, right? Just talking about the energy you bring. Not that the job doesn't get done, but the energy you bring, the sense of calm that you bring, the sense of it's going to be okay that you bring to your team, you'll know that, right? They'll tell you, oh, I'm so glad you're here today. Not because they want you to do the work. It's because they enjoy being around you. There's something about you that brings out the best in them. And that's what great leadership is. You have to employ empathy, as empathy is that ability to understand and share the feelings of others, whether it's in childcare leadership or in life. Empathy is critical for connecting with any human being on a deeper level. Empathetic leaders foster strong relationships by demonstrating genuine care and understanding for others, right? It's not, oh, you called out the last 3 days, I'm so mad at you. It's, hey, I know you were sick for the last 3 days. Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay to come in today? Or, I noticed that you were out sick for the last 3 days. Can I lighten the load for you? Let me cover for you a little bit. Or do you need time to get caught up on something? Maybe they didn't have an opportunity to do their boards, or their classroom isn't quite organized the way that it needs to be because they've had a substitute in their room for 3 days. But it's that empathy, that understanding that helps you become a leader and helps people want to follow you. Supporting the children. By empathizing with children's experiences, leaders can create a nurturing environment that supports their emotional and psychological development. Because again, remember, everybody that's in our sphere of influence, and that certainly includes our students. Also, our social skills. Social skills encompass communication, conflict resolution, and relationship building activities. In childcare leadership, strong social skills enable leaders to interact effectively. We build teamwork, collaboration. When we have those strong social skills, we can foster that collaboration among our staff, promoting a positive and supportive workplace. And managing interactions. Socially skilled leaders navigate interactions with parents and children with ease, and that creates a welcoming and inclusive environment. So one of the ways I love to get out on the floor, and I love to talk with the parents when they're dropping off or picking up. I love talking with the kids after they've had a field trip, or after they've had a guest visitor, or after we've brought in some new equipment. I love to not only observe the children with the new equipment, but I also like to ask them about how they felt about it. What did they like about it? What didn't they like? What could be better? How could we add more, But it's that conversation that you have that builds that social structure and that camaraderie and that teamwork. And even my kids, in the school, they're part of that. They're more than part of that. They're the whole reason it exists. So making sure as a leader you have great social skills. Do not ignore that wonderful resource in your program that is your students. The impact of emotional intelligence on childcare leadership can also help you improve staff relationships. Leaders with high emotional intelligence can cultivate positive relationships with their staff by providing support, by understanding their staff's emotional and professional needs. And leaders can often offer appropriate support and guidance. However, I would like to caveat, be aware of boundaries and make sure you take care of your own sphere. So what I mean by that is you may have, a group of people who like to, I don't want to use the word dump, but, they're negative in their aura and all of that. I know that sounds kind of hokey, but, it's always Debbie Downer, Debbie Downer, Debbie Downer. You have to be aware that can have an impact on you or the other colleagues in the building. So you have to really find a way to improve those relationships and encourage collaboration. It fosters a sense of cooperation, harmonious and productive workplaces, and also recognizing their achievements. Because leaders who acknowledge and celebrate their staff's accomplishments contribute to a job satisfaction and motivation overall. So making sure that that's really important to you to improve those staff relationships, because sometimes when you have to have difficult conversations, it makes it a little easier to know that it comes from a place of love or respect, mutual respect at least. It also can help parent engagement. When you have a high EI, it allows leaders to effectively work with parents, whether it's communicating openly, establishing lines of communication with parents, addressing their concerns in a timely manner, or it's building trust. Parent-leader relationships are really important in any center, and you have to be transparent, you have to be reliable, and as you do those things on a consistent basis, it will foster trust with parents. And providing support for your parents as well, because empathetic leaders can offer parents guidance and support, helping them navigate the challenges of raising children, because raising children is hard. And now the economy being what it is, and parents being, stressed out and having to work long hours, and just all the things that folks are juggling, it's hard and it's a lot. And when you have that IE, it helps with building strong intellectual play for children and emotional support for children, creating those nurturing environments. Empathetic leaders can establish a safe and supportive atmosphere where children feel valued and cared for. I love when children feel valued and they know that they've come to a place where they're respected by the adults in the space. And that, again, is going to come from you as a leader. You have to promote that social and emotional learning. Leaders who model emotional intelligence can teach children valuable social and emotional skills, helping them navigate relationships and managing their emotions. I mean, come on. Managing emotions for a toddler is hard. Sometimes it's hard for adults, never mind a toddler or a preschool child who is just kind of learning about themselves. And it also helps you address individual needs. When you understand each child's unique needs and challenges, leaders can provide personalized support that fosters growth and development. It also helps you with challenges and solutions. Challenges in cultivating emotional support and emotional intelligence could be your lack of awareness. Some leaders may not recognize the importance of emotional intelligence or may lack the self-awareness that is needed to improve. Or maybe they're resistant to change. Developing emotional intelligence requires self-reflection and a willingness to change, which may be challenging for some leaders. And we don't have a lot of time, as we often talk about. So sometimes there's time constraints, and leaders in childcare settings face so many time constraints that their ability to be able to focus on their emotional intelligence over the day-to-day operations might be hard. So, that's something to be aware of, and maybe that's something that you put on your professional development plan. You want to make sure that you have training, so providing leadership within your organization, the training on emotional intelligence, and also raising awareness and offer tools for improvement. And think about the last time that your staff had any training on their emotional intelligence and recognizing it. I know we had a woman come out probably about 5 months ago. Her name is Adji, and she ran a workshop on self-reflection and self-care, and she talked about many of these areas that I'm talking about today with my staff. And we learned a real lot about each other during that period, things outside of the work that you wouldn't normally talk about at work, and the things that people were struggling with. So you want to make sure that you encourage self-reflection. As leaders can be encouraged to practice mindfulness and reflection to enhance their self-awareness and self-regulation. And many times I talk on the show about meditation practice, which I really just started a few months ago, and have really found it super beneficial, and I highly recommend it. So if you haven't tried it, I would try it. You can start with a self-guided meditation or a guided meditation on YouTube that will kind of walk you through it. And I was having a great conversation with one of my teachers the other day about it. And she said, well, I tried it. It doesn't work because I kept, as soon as it was quiet, I kept thinking about all these things that I said. And that's why it's called a practice. It's very hard to clear your mind. It's an exercise of the mind. Just like if you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, that's an exercise of your body muscles, right? And certain pieces of equipment work different muscles. So it's the same thing. It's when you're being mindful, it's intentional. It's intentional work on how are you feeling, checking in with yourself. And so it's important, checking in with others. And so that's why I thought it was really important to talk about that in our category of leadership, because when you're practicing mindfulness and engaged in mindfulness activities such as meditation or journaling, it helps increase your self-awareness, and it helps cultivate that type of culture at your school. And then, seeking feedback, always ask for feedback from colleagues and staff and parents to gain insights on your emotional impact on others. I mean, I don't think that is probably a question that you ask your staff very often. It's usually like, well, what can I do to support you better? What materials do you need? But do you ask your staff, how does it impact you the way that I come in? Does it impact you when I'm here? Does it impact you when I'm not here? What things do I do that may have a negative impact on the way you feel? Or, so these are conversations you should have because they really will help you be more mindful, and it will help you improve your self-regulation as well. Developing stress management techniques such as practicing deep breathing or other relaxation techniques to manage stress, I have this spray in my office. It's a eucalyptus. This is like a pure eucalyptus oil that I spray in my office. And again, it's my own personal space, but I'll spray in my office if I start to feel tense or I start to feel misaligned in some way. And as a leader, I understand the severity and the importance of me being positive and me being clear-minded to make the decisions that I make and have the conversations that I have. So I'm going to wrap it up and just say emotional intelligence really plays such a vital role in effective leadership and for your childcare setting. So developing that self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills, you too can create a positive, supportive environment that benefits your staff, children, and families. And while challenges exist in cultivating emotional intelligence, practical solutions and recommendations can help leaders like yourself enhance your EI and improve their leadership capabilities. Prioritize emotional intelligence in childcare leadership ultimately leads to better outcomes for everyone. So, as I always say, the end of each episode, I want you to remember it is the little details like what I'm talking about today that make a big impact on the success of your childcare program. So think about this, because it's so hard to get out of the day-to-day, putting out fires. When you have time on your time blocker and you have that time for self-care, it's really a great time to check in with where are you emotionally. And if you are run down, burnt out, remember that is trickling off to all of those around you. So you have to figure out the best way to get that in check for you. So that's it for today's episode. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you are enjoying this little series on leadership. And if you could kindly do me a favor and hop on over to your Instagram and help us. This week, we are working on building up our Instagram followers. I am pretty new on Instagram, and as I start to build my audience, not only nationally, but internationally, and working with some of the biggest names in ECE over the next coming weeks and months, my social media is something that they look at when they consider coming on the show to share their golden nuggets with all of you. So if you wouldn't mind, hop on over. It is RI_childcare DC. Again, it's RI_childcare DC, short for Director's Chair. So that's it for today. As always, have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Childcare Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Childcare Director's Chair.